The Association of Securities Exchanges in Africa hosted the 23rd edition of their annual conference in Lagos, Nigeria. Focusing on the theme Champions on the Rise, Africa's Ascension to a More Sustainable Future, it brought together market leaders in the continent. Delivering their remarks, the Acting Director General of the Securities and Exchange Commission of Nigeria, Ms. Mary Uduk, and President of the Council of the Nigeria Stock Exchange, Mr. Osinbajo, in their separate remarks called for proactive steps in mobilizing resources and capital to drive inclusive economic growth in the region.
This event brings together so many representatives from the capital market community across Africa, with whom the Nigerian Stock Exchange shares a common vision of advancing our continent through the operation of a sustainable capital market. Permit me to take this opportunity to congratulate the outgoing president of ASEA, Mr. Oscar Yemi, and his entire team on hosting this edition of the annual ASEA conference. Your commitment to upholding professionalism and integrity in the securities and investment industry has made an indelible mark on the capital market in Nigeria and Africa at large. The theme of this year's conference underpins the need for operators in African capital markets to fully embrace sustainable business practices, as well as the opportunities and risks presented by the fourth industrial revolution.
Considering the immense benefits that world-class capital markets bring, every economy, especially African economies, needs such markets. Africa needs to develop its capital markets to accelerate inclusive economic growth and to tackle infrastructure challenges. This will complement banking sector finance to provide long-term capital for growth and development. It is therefore critical that African governments continue their efforts to ensure rapid development of capital markets and support innovations to deepen and accelerate their growth and help direct financial capital to more sustainable economic activity. I encourage ASEA and all stakeholders to continue the work of integrating our markets in Africa, as this will no doubt transform African markets to world-class markets.
In her keynote, the Vice President and Treasurer of the World Bank, Aruma Ote, tasked the African exchanges to take the initiative of providing a platform that can address the energy deficit in the continent.
Clearly, securities exchanges can play a role in ending Africa's energy problems. The second area that I want to share with you is about nurturing entrepreneurship, nurturing the many micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises that we have. I understand that there are 44 million micro and small-scale enterprises, micro, small-scale, and medium enterprises, 44 million. So if we had a pipeline of 0.1% of that we plan for listing, that would be 44,000 African companies that could make their way onto securities exchanges. You know that SMEs are strong drivers of economic development, of innovation, of employment. But one of their greatest challenges is access to finance. Of course, I was pleased to learn in October at the World Federation of Exchanges meetings this year that there is important attention that securities exchanges around the world, including in Africa, and I know that the CEO of the Stock Exchange made a presentation about some of the transformational ways that you're looking at SMEs and supporting them. And I'm looking to see how we can do much more of that so that we can truly develop a pipeline of companies that can be listed on the exchanges in Africa. I'd like to say a few words about advocacy. I do believe that, of course, you need an ecosystem for us to realize sustainable economic growth on our continent. And I do realize that the government has an important role to play. But I do believe that securities exchanges are important advocates to the government, and it's a role that you must take very seriously. Your role as advisor, your role as a source of intelligence, of competitiveness from around the world, of global trends, of opportunities. It has to be a proactive role. You cannot say I'm the private sector, so the government should be the only one thinking about this. What you do, as I said, you are at the heart, you are at the epicenter of the ecosystem that will transform Africa. And you have to take the role of advocacy just as seriously as you take the role of listing one company on your exchanges.
CEO of the Nigeria Stock Exchange and outgoing president of the ASEA, in his remarks shared the growth and impact of the association so far in the region.
Some of the key achievements of the association over the past few years, key amongst which is our success in elevating the profile of ASEA on the global stage and the expansion of our portfolio of strategic relationships and alliances. In the last year, our strategic relationships have resulted in grants worth approximately $1.2 million from the Financial Sector Deepening Africa and the Korea Africa Economic Cooperation Fund via the Africa Development Bank. The grants received to date are targeted at the African Exchanges Linkage Project, the ASEA Secondment Program, information portal to aggregate information from all the exchanges on the continent and make that information available to the investing community, and our various conferences that we hold annually. These programs are critical levers of success for ASEA, and we aim to continue to broaden and deepen our relationships in order to create increasing value for members and the African financial markets.
During Oscar's tenure, the association has improved its governance, reached out to many important organizations such as AFDB or the African Union, organizations that have all played an important role in helping serve our members. Last but not least, ASEA developed under Oscar's leadership a 2019-2023 strategic roadmap with the mission to engage African capital market ecosystems in order to foster capital mobilization, promote sustainability, and enhance financial inclusion for the benefit of Africa's economic development.
Special guest of honor, Vice President Professor Yemi Osinbajo, Senior Advocate of Nigeria, called on exchanges in the continent to encourage the growth of startups, especially technology firms.
The emergence of national and corporate champions in Africa will also depend to a great deal on the activities of stock markets and other exchanges. This is because of their key role in capital formation and intermediation between various actors in capital markets, including governments, firms, and individuals. In addition, African securities exchanges have a vital role to play in promoting best practices in corporate governance to ensure the highest standards of transparency and accountability. Very many of our countries suffer a foreign exchange gap in terms of paying for vital imports, including raw materials and intermediate goods. But by providing an avenue for portfolio investments, capital markets have helped to provide much required liquidity. Of course, we realize that such inflows can be quite volatile and that we must prepare for sudden reversals to avoid disorder and potential crisis. Another key role that African capital markets must play in this era is to assist technology startups to find the resources they need to promote and grow their businesses. We in Nigeria have an advisory group on technology and creativity, and one of the dominant themes in our discussions with the young entrepreneurs in these sectors is the lack of affordable and patient capital. We're accordingly working with the ADB to establish a $500 million innovation fund that will support activities in this sector. Given the size of our economy and the potential of technology and the creative sectors, I'm hopeful that capital market operators will work towards innovative financing solutions to lend further support to these two sectors. Partnerships, of course, will be essential to ensure that African champions continue to rise in a sustainable manner. Such partnerships must be between governments, private firms, and business associations.
Mr. Oscar Onyema and Aruma Ote speak further on the ASEA event and focus theme.
Actually, as president of ASEA, I've led an effort to create what we call the Africa Exchange Linkage Project, which is a project to link the major trading hubs in Africa, Lagos, Nairobi, Abidjan, Casablanca, Johannesburg, and Mauritius. And we're working in partnership with the Africa Development Bank to get that work done. A lot of work has already gone into the effort, and we're very happy to get the grant that the ADB put together with the Korean investment firm, where they're going to be making almost $1 million available to drive the Africa Exchange linkage project. So that effort is already going, and I hope that as I step down as president of ASEA, that the new president and the new executive committee will continue to drive it forward and bring it to fruition.
This is a continent of sunshine, and so my message is that we must have an ecosystem that makes sure that the innovation is coming out of Africa. And some of what securities exchanges do is to spur innovation, to spur entrepreneurship, to provide the capital that is necessary. And we development finance institutions at the World Bank, we are providing seed capital to provide support in solar. One area that is extremely important in solar is battery storage. So in September we announced that we'll provide $1 billion, which will raise another $4 billion to support innovative ways of focusing on solar. The other areas, in my view, are absolutely important, but energy is key. I talked about the opportunity in agriculture, the opportunity in other sectors of the economy. On entrepreneurship, I raise entrepreneurship because Africans are very enterprising. We estimate that there are about 44 million micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises in Africa. And if the Association of Securities Exchanges commit as a group to have a pipeline of just 0.1% of those companies that they will potentially groom and nurture to list on the exchanges. That is 44,000 companies, and it is doable. And so my challenge to the members of the Association of Securities and Securities Exchanges is that they take on that challenge and have a plan as to how to support entrepreneurship and to support micro, small, and medium-scale enterprises. And many of them are doing great things. In our country, the Nigerian Stock Exchange is focused on the on rethinking how to support SMEs, and they've developed something that I heard is called the Growth Fund. In Nairobi, Nairobi's been also at the forefront of supporting small and medium-scale enterprises, and indeed the East African region through the Capital Market Center has also provided even additional support. So they're very interesting things that the exchanges are doing, but they need to scale that up, and they need to leverage technology because that way they can support SMEs without worrying about the costs.
With Africa described as the next frontier of industrialization, the securities exchanges have a key role to play in unlocking the wealth of the continent through capital formation and the provision of long-term financing.